Nikon's shooting menu is where you adjust your shooting options, like how the camera writes to the memory cards. For a full-frame DSLR like the D600, it is also where you choose how much of the sensor is utilized. In this video, we'll take a detailed tour of the D600's shooting menu. I'm also in the process of posting videos for each section of the D600 menus. Remember that even if you don't own a D600, these videos might help you with your other Nikon DSLRs because a lot of the menu options are similar. Okay, let's take a look. Your first option is Reset Shooting Menu. By choosing yes, you will reset all of the shooting menu options to their default settings. Our next option is Storage Folder. This is where your images are stored on the memory cards. You can select a folder by number or select a folder from a list. Selecting a folder from a list lists the folders available already on the cards. Selecting a folder by number allows you to create a new folder. You can see which card you are creating the folder on in the upper right of the screen. Here you can see that the first SD card is highlighted. Next is file naming. The default on Nikon cameras is for the file to start with DSC, then underscore, then 4 numbers. Or if you're shooting in Adobe RGB, underscore, DSC, numbers. But you can change the letters here. The role played by card in slot 2 is next. This is where you determine how the camera is going to write to the memory cards. The default is for it to overflow, where when your first card fills up, it writes to the second card. You can also have the images back up to the second card. This is a good option for when you want to make really sure to get your images. It's a little insurance, if you will. If for some reason your first card fails, the images will still be writing to the other card. I use this option a lot for important events like weddings. Last, you can choose to write RAW images to slot 1 and JPEG images to slot 2. Next is image quality. You have many options for image quality. You can shoot 2 different file types, JPEG and RAW, with options for each. For JPEG, you can choose Basic, Normal, or Fine. Then there's RAW. You can also shoot a combination of RAW and JPEG, RAW plus JPEG Basic, Normal, or Fine. This is separate from what we just talked about regarding backing up to a separate card. In this option, you will be writing both files to your primary card. And now for image size. You can choose large, medium, or small. Image quality and image size are items that you can also change using a dedicated button on the back of the D600. With the LCD screen off, you press the Zoom In/Quality button and turn the command dials to cycle through all of the options, which you can see in the control panel. Image area. There are 2 things here. Let's look at Choose Image Area first. This is where you choose how much of the sensor you utilize. You can use the full sensor in FX or a portion of the sensor in DX, which is a crop factor of 1.5x. Now we can look at Auto DX crop. On Nikon FX cameras, you can use Nikon DX lenses. By turning on Auto DX crop, the D600 will automatically switch to DX mode when a DX lens is put on the camera. Let's take a break from the menu to talk about image quality, image size, and image area. We won't talk about RAW versus JPEG or FX versus DX. Those are divisive issues that come down to personal preference. What I do want to talk about is photo editing and file size. When choosing your image quality, image size, and image area, think about 2 things. 1. When choosing the file size that you're creating, think about how much space is on the memory cards that you have with you, and how you plan to store all of the images at home. The size of larger files adds up fast. You need room to store them. And 2, how do you plan to edit the images? Not all image editing programs will edit RAW files, so make sure that you're equipped to edit the files that you are creating. The next 2 options are for file compression. Here is JPEG compression. This lets you decide how the camera is going to compress the JPEG images you write to the memory card. You can choose size priority, where the camera tries to make all of the images about the same size, or you can choose optimal quality, where the file sizes are different, but the camera tries to figure out the best quality for each individual image. And here is NEF or RAW recording. You have 2 options under type. You can choose lossless compressed, where the images are compressed without any effect on image quality, or compressed, where the images are compressed more but with little effect on image quality. Under NEF or RAW bit depth, you can choose 12-bit or 14-bit. Now for white balance. On the D600, you have 9 choices, and some of these have fine tuning available. We have Auto, where the camera will try and figure out what color temperature to use. Within Auto, you have 2 options for fine tuning, Normal and Keep Warm lighting colors. Next is Incandescent, for when you are under incandescent lighting. Next is Fluorescent, which has several ways to fine tune. You can choose sodium vapor lamps, warm white fluorescent, cool white fluorescent, day white fluorescent,
daylight fluorescent, and high temperature mercury vapor. Then there's direct sunlight and flash for when you're using a flash, and cloudy and shade. Then there's K for Kelvin, where you can choose a specific color temperature. You choose the temperature and then you can adjust it from green to magenta. Last, there's preset manual. Here you can do two things. You can take a photo of a neutral gray or white object, like a gray card, and set the white balance off of that. Or you can copy the white balance from an existing photo. Either way, the photo must be on the memory card in the camera. You choose which slot you want it in, you press the center of the multi-selector, then you select your image by navigating to it and pressing the OK button. Then, if you press the center of the multi-selector again on the image in the slot, you can fine-tune if you need to. You can also add a comment to the preset. You can also protect the preset, so you can't overwrite the image in this slot until you go in and unprotect it. You can also change white balance with buttons on the camera body. If you press the Help/Protect/White Balance button on the back of the camera and rotate the command dials, you can scroll through the presets in the control panel. The next option is Set Picture Control. Here you choose how the camera will record how the photo looks with regard to sharpness, contrast, brightness, saturation, and hue. You can choose standard, neutral, vivid, monochrome, portrait, or landscape. Within these, there are fine-tuning options. Standard is your all-around setting with fine-tuning for sharpening, contrast, brightness, saturation, and hue. If you make any modifications to these, an asterisk will appear next to the picture control name in the list. In neutral, the camera does limited processing and will give you natural-looking results. The idea is that you would use this setting if you were going to be doing a lot in post-processing. You have all the same fine-tuning options. Vivid will enhance your primary colors, and you have the same fine-tuning options again. In monochrome, your images will be recorded in black and white. A note on monochrome, though, is that if you are shooting in RAW, the image will show up as black and white on your LCD screen in playback, but you are still capturing the color information, and you'll be able to access the color image in post-processing. The fine-tuning for this option is a little different. You have sharpening, contrast, brightness, filter effects, including yellow, orange, red, and green, and toning, like sepia or cyanotype. Next is portrait, which focuses on skin tones and has the same fine-tuning options as the other color options. And lastly is landscape, which focuses on the reds and greens. You've got the same fine-tuning options here too. One thing I should mention is the grid. You are able to view the fine-tuning on a grid for each picture control by pressing the Zoom Out button when you're in Picture Control List or when you're in the fine-tuning options. You can also quickly access the picture control options by pressing the Retouch button when the LCD screen is off. It will take you directly to this menu. The next option is Manage Picture Control, where you can edit each of the picture control options or you can create a new picture control. If you go to Save/Edit, you can choose from your existing picture controls. Pick which one you want to edit, and then you can edit the fine-tuning options we talked about before. The other option I have available is Load/Save. Here I am able to bring in any new picture controls that I have saved on my memory card or delete them from the card. This section is handy if you set up a picture control with another camera and you want to put it on your other cameras. Also, when you have custom picture controls, rename and delete will be available. Do you want auto distortion control on or off? This option reduces barrel or pincushion distortion in photos taken with certain types of lenses. This option only works with type G and D lenses. And if you choose on, be cautious when choosing DX lenses. Make sure that your camera is set only to use the DX portion of the sensor to prevent severe distortion and cropping. Color space is next. You have two options, sRGB and Adobe RGB. I use sRGB. Next is active D-lighting, where the camera helps bring out detail in highlights and shadows when you're in high contrast situations. You have off, of course, but you also have auto, extra high, high, normal, and low. Remember that active D-lighting doesn't work in movie mode, only for still images. High dynamic range is next on the menu. This is where the camera will combine two exposures to create one image, but this option cannot be used when shooting in RAW. You have options here. First, you must choose your HDR mode. Off, on series, where HDR will remain on until you go in and choose off, or on single photo, where HDR will be on for only one image. Next, you choose your exposure differential. You can choose auto, or 1, 2, or 3 EV. Then you must choose the amount of smoothing. This smooths the area between the two images. You can choose normal, low, or high. Vignette control helps to lessen any darkening at the edges of your image. This option only works with type G and D FX lenses. You can choose high, normal, low, or off. Next is long exposure noise reduction. This option is only available for still photography and might slow your frames per second, but it will reduce the noise in your image when shooting with a shutter speed of slower than 1 second. You can choose on or off. Next is high ISO noise reduction. This will reduce the amount of noise in photos where you are using high ISO sensitivities. Here you have high, normal, low, and off. In ISO sensitivity settings, you can set the ISO sensitivity from a list. You also have auto ISO sensitivity control here. This is where you can have the camera decide which ISO sensitivity is best for your given situation. You choose on or off, but you can also set parameters on this if you turn it on. You can set the maximum ISO sensitivity you want, meaning the camera won't use anything higher, and you can set the minimum shutter speed. One of your options here is auto, or you can choose a specific shutter speed. I have a separate video where I explain Nikon's auto ISO capability. Take a look at that for more information on how this option works. You can set your ISO using buttons on the camera body as well. When the LCD screen is off, you press and hold the Zoom Out/ISO button on the back of the camera and rotate the rear command dial to adjust your ISO sensitivity, or you rotate the front command dial to turn auto ISO on or off. Next is remote control mode. You have to have the optional remote to use this, but you can configure how it works in this menu item. Our next menu item is multiple exposure. You have the option to capture multiple exposures in one shot. Here we can choose off, on series, where this will remain on until you go in and choose off, or on single photo, where it will be on to create only one multiple exposure image. Next, you choose the number of shots, either 2 or 3. You physically have to press the shutter release that number of times to complete your multiple exposure, but you can use this in conjunction with the interval timer, which I'll explain in a minute, and have the camera release the shutter for you. And then you choose auto gain to be on or off. If you choose on, gain will be adjusted according to the number of exposures you chose to be captured for each image. If you chose 3 exposures, gain would be 1/3. You cannot use this option with live view.
Multiple exposure is sort of similar to HDR. Both of them can be used to expand the dynamic range of your image. However, where HDR is flipping the mirror up once, taking 2 exposures quickly, and then stitching them together into one HDR image, multiple exposure is laying all of the images that you've taken separately on top of one another. For that reason, multiple exposure can also be used to capture things like light trails of stars or the colorful trail of leaves floating on a stream.
Interval timer shooting is next. As someone that takes a lot of self-portraits, I spend a lot of time here. This option is similar to a self-timer, except that it will take multiple photos at set intervals, which you get to determine here. First, you choose the start time. Do you want the camera to start taking photos now or at some other set time? Pressing the right arrow, we get to the interval. How much time do we want in between photos? We can choose hours, minutes, and seconds. I'll choose 4 seconds. Next is the number of shots per interval and the number of intervals. I'm choosing 1 photo in 5 intervals. So what will happen is that the camera will take 1 photo, wait 4 seconds, take another photo, wait 4 seconds, until it takes 5 photos. If you choose more than 1 photo per interval, like if I chose 4, keep in mind what release photo you're in. If you are in continuous high, those 4 photos are going to be taken pretty fast. Then I can choose on to begin or off to exit. I have an entire video explaining the interval timer on Nikon cameras if you'd like a demonstration. Next is time-lapse photography. This is similar to interval timer shooting, except that instead of taking a bunch of still photos and saving them all to the memory card, in time-lapse photography, a bunch of still photos are taken and turned into a movie, which is then saved to the memory card. So the setup is similar to that of interval timer shooting. You choose on or off. We're going to say off so we can set up how we want it. Pressing the right arrow, we get to interval, where we choose how long in between photos. Let's leave it at 5 seconds. And next we choose shooting time. This is how long the camera will take photos. We can leave it on 25 minutes. So the bottom half of the screen shows us what we have going on. As we have it set, the camera will take a photo every 5 seconds for 25 minutes. Then our final movie will be 10.1 seconds long, which you see in blue. Then we can turn it on to start taking photos. Release mode does not matter in this option. No matter which one you're on, only 1 photo will be taken at each interval. Also, this isn't available in live view. Last, we have movie settings. Our first option is frame size/frame rate. We have many options here, including 1080p at 30 frames per second. Next, we can choose movie quality, high or normal. Then we can choose our microphone sensitivity. If you are not using an external mic, you can set the in-camera's mic sensitivity to auto, manual, or turn it off. Last, you choose the destination, either card slot.
A number of the things in the shooting menu are accessible through buttons on the D600's body, like the image size and quality. But there are some things in there that you'll be accessing on a regular basis, like how the secondary memory card acts, or maybe the image area. I still have several more videos on the D600's menus coming up. Let me know if you have any questions.